Good evening, everybody. Matrix here, and here's my watch list for July 24th. Okay, taking a look at tomorrow's plays, there are a lot of plays. We are starting into the earnings season, and the big four, or the big four has not even started yet, like Facebook, Apple, Google, Amazon. They haven't even announced yet, and we're already seeing massive plays. Let's get right into it, okay? So Snapchat. Coming right up. Okay, actually, give me a sec here real quick. Accidentally typed somewhere where I shouldn't have typed Snapchat. Okay, so let's load up some drawings on Snapchat. Snapchat had earnings after hours, and the reaction was amazing. Not only did they beat the revenues expectation, they also put out great guidance as well. Uh, I've been watching Snapchat on the side since they IPO'd, right? This never really left my radar, although I don't trade it because the range has really shortened out. I know enough of the stock that the $16 area was pretty key for the longest time on the daily chart. As you can see, I marked off 16, 24, and 17 over here. We have gapped up into a massive range right here. So tomorrow, it's even though the gap up is huge and it's very overextended, tomorrow there are possibilities of both sides. There is a possibility of a long as well. As you can see, the 1625 here I marked off in orange. This is probably the most important level that I will be watching. If we come over here on the daily chart, this 1625 level was very key. I believe $16 was its first IPO initial price. I don't remember if it's 16 or 17, but it's one of these two. So this $16 mark made a very big impression on me, and I marked off the 17 as well. As you can see, there's a little gap here in the first year of the stock's IPO on July 7th, I believe, in 2017. So we are coming into this gap, and it does look like it wants to fill the gap. So even though the stock is very overextended, there is a possibility of a long here. With Snapchat being one of a major social media platform here, I do believe that a lot of major top tier firms will be chiming in tomorrow on this earnings call and the results, and be putting out a lot of ratings as well. So with that said, if they all come out with a consensus of a buy rating and the stock is staying above this key level of 126.25, we could get a pop and run right out the gates and have a secondary run day, or really the first run day. Overall, this in itself is a changing fundamentals play. So with that said, changing fundamentals, whatever happened in the past doesn't really matter that much. As in, well, the past history for Snap has been in a downtrend, but this year, as you can see, it's bouncing right back up. It got sold off huge, right? It got down all the way as far as $5, and this year it came back up, and now with this earnings report, with the fundamentals changing, I'm not so sure it's still a weak stock anymore. After all, it is a major contender in the social media world here, right? As you can see, we have a little range here in the short term, this 1550 area, actually 1555 to be exact. Okay, we have broke out of this range after hours. This $15 mark was very key as a resistance, and we have also broke that out. So now these two areas become support areas. I've marked off here also this 1582. Okay, this 1582, how did I get it? It's basically kind of like a 50% of this massive move after hours. So if I'm going to bring out the Fibonacci's real quick, even though I don't use the fibs, right? This up move from the lows to the highs, this swing after hours, as you can see, it's right here, this 50% line at 1580 $80 area. Okay, so this in turn becomes a key area for me to watch here. The 9 EMA on the 30-minute chart is also on this. Let's take a look at the 15-minute. No. Let's take a look at the 60-minute. No. Okay, so let's go back to the 30-minute. So anyways, this is a key area. It's basically, if I zoom out, why is this? Oh yeah, right here. You see this? On July 11th and July 12th. This is kind of like the highs, right? So that's why I marked it off. And then coming down from here, we have the next support at this 1550, which I talked about already here on the daily chart. It's this area right here. Okay, so I am, if for long, I am looking for a dip and hold. Watching this 1625, the 1580 and the 1550 area. On the long side, on the resistance side, I'm watching the after hours highs at 1680 as well as the $17 mark that I talked about where the gap fill is. Okay, so it might reach as high as 17 tomorrow, and then from there I will be looking for a short, for a sell-off, and for a profit-taking dip. Okay, there's two ways to play this ticker, but I wouldn't try to play around the 1625 area. I would wait for either the support one to hit or the resistance one to hit to either play long and short off it. Wait at least half an hour after the price discovery is over. If it doesn't reach right, then I'll make a decision from there. After hours, though, I mean, it's looking like it's selling off. We don't know what's going to happen pre-market, though. However, Snapchat with massive volume, changing fundamentals, and anticipating that analysts will be coming out with ratings tomorrow morning. This is definitely on the main watch. The average true range is about 60 cents, 57 cents on FinViz. However, because of this volume and because of how big this catalyst is, I do believe that it will be able to run two of its ATRs tomorrow. So maybe $1. Looking at this right now, 1580 to 1680, that's $1. So a nice move would be a long from here or short from here, right? Even from here, 1550s up to the 1625, 1650s, that's $1, right? So I'll be looking for that move on Snapchat. Next up, IRBT announced earnings after hours, and they actually beat earnings on revenues. However, they put out weaker than expected guidance. They adjusted the guidance, and the stock sold off 17%. Now, with that said, they cited on their earnings report that the tariffs are hitting them hard, and that's why they're expecting their guidance to be coming down a little bit. Looking at IRBT overall, there is not much institutional ownage here on IRBT. Let's take a look. Yeah, there is no data on the institutionally owned. So basically, this is all owned by retailers and more like just no big firms, right? So with that said, with this massive drop, I think the overall market will panic out and cause it to drop even more. Looking on this right here, the daily chart, the pattern here is whenever it had bad earnings, it gapped down huge, and then it still sells up, it opens flat and sells off for another $10. So this is what's happening right now. We have that massive gap down, and we could be anticipating that big sell-off here tomorrow. So for example, right here as well, we had the earnings gap down and then a massive sell-off. Okay, coming over here, we had a gap up, but then it couldn't hold its gains and sold off as well after the initial pop. So I do like it for a short. Coming over here again, I believe this was earnings as well. Let's zoom in a little bit on the daily chart. Look, a massive gap down and then a sell-off of like $10 from 70 all the way to 60, right? So that's kind of like the pattern for IRBT whenever it has a massive gap down. It doesn't really matter how big the gap or how small the gap is. It just tends to sell off the next day for at least $10. So with that said, of course, we can't just short it right out of gates. I mean, got to be a little bit more precise here. So the 76 to 76.50 area. Well, first off, I'll be watching 75 key psychological whole number. We're sitting right at 74, right? So I'll be watching that. Also, the $76 as well, knowing that this stock has so much range. Coming over here on the daily chart, I do see a range here at around the 76.50, right? So you know what? Let's delete that. Let's pull this out a little bit so you guys can see a little better, right? So we have a range low here. Okay. So this is where we are. We are actually sitting right around here under the 75 area. So if I extend this range, you can see this is a very key level. And let's take a look at what price this is at here. This is around the 76, yeah, 75, 80, 76 area. Okay, and then coming over here, some more levels that we have, particularly this one, the low over here. So if I draw that horizontal line across, line it up straight here. Sorry, just give me a second. You can see we are in a range, and what is this price? This is $73. Okay, and then from here, the next low we have right here. Okay, let's try to get this line straight right there. Okay, from its earnings back in February, we have the highs at 71. Okay, so 71, 73, and 76. Coming over here, let's mark that off. 71 we have already breached and bounced back up. I do believe it's going to try to test it again tomorrow. Okay, and then 73 is kind of interim. Surprisingly, I mean, look at this 30-minute chart. It's kind of like a rounded off 73, as you can see. And then from here, we have 75. And of course, we have 76. Okay, so that's IRBT. I'm looking for a pop and drop, or if it opens kind of flat out the gates tomorrow, just to follow this next pattern of it dumping, because their guidance was not good. And without institutional buyers, institutional ownerships, I don't think the analysts will be coming out to talk about this, and the normal investors and the bag holders in this, people who usually play this ticker, they're in the water and they're going to panic out. So IRBT I really like for the short. Okay, want to do a quick mention here on Boeing. They are announcing earnings at the open tomorrow, as well as Caterpillar. So these two are definitely on watch tomorrow in the pre-market. Netflix is very interesting. Basically, it kind of like did exactly what I talked about last night on my watch list. So let's load up some Netflix drawings here. And these are the same drawings I had from last night. I was saying looking for this 312 to hold it down. And at the open, as you can see, for the first half an hour, it just chopped around on price discovery. It's basically emotions and the market deciding where fair price is. And from then, it snapped down from the 312 at 10 o'clock, literally exactly 10 o'clock after price discovery from 312. It was 10:05 and 10 o'clock. And it went downhill from there and tested the lows. And that was what I called for yesterday. Now, from here, today, or tomorrow, what am I planning? So last night I talked about Netflix, and it's I talked about how it wanted. It looks like it definitely want this area right here. Okay, so it still have about 5 more points to go. I believe this is the 301. Yeah, so 301, 301.50. It definitely looks like it wants it from the way it came down. I mean, during this price discovery area, after the first half an hour, people decide that it's not ready to get back up yet. So from there, it just dropped, right? So tomorrow after price discovery, we should see it hang around this 308.50 area and then just sell off tomorrow. That's my plan on Netflix. Facebook, after hours, came down hard, and taking a look right now, look at this reaction after hours, and it's basically the Department of Justice talking about probing them on privacy issues and everything. So let's take a look at the news here. After reading this, I mean, I'm not very literate in the news department. I know this is bad news if the DOJ is investigating you, okay? So obviously, bad reaction. We have big, big snap of the 200 key psychological area here. So I'm going to mark that off and watch that. Facebook's going to be on side watch, though. It has sold off a lot. I believe Mark Zuckerberg is going to be testifying tomorrow, and I think they're going to make him sign something. So going to watch out for that news. And from here on the daily chart, I mean, this 200 level was huge, right? We are trading down at this 199. So let's mark that off real quick here on the daily chart. Take a look at that. So that's about the 199. So has a long ways to go. It's overall the pattern have changed. It was just consolidating around this range here, and now that it has snapped the range, I want to see a retest and a fail. Okay, it snapped the range to the downside. I want to see a retest back up into this range, fail the 200, and come right back down. And the next target here we have 195 concise, right? So we have a few more dollars to go here to the downside. I want to see a pop and drop tomorrow. On the 5-minute chart, this looks pretty key, right? Even though there's no volume, this 199.50, okay, you can see this is a major breakdown here, and it came back up trying to retrace and failed. So it does look like it's having the next leg down. So that's Facebook, and that's basically my watch list this evening. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all bright and early tomorrow. Thanks. Ciao.